Hi, welcome. So today I'm going to walk you through how to obtain more soil information about your place of interest, whether it be your home, business, or other area. We're going to walk through how to use the USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service Web Soil Survey. This is the landing page. To get started, just simply click on the green circle, and this will take you to the interactive map. Now, it can be a little overwhelming to zoom into your place of interest, so I just like to use the address, type in the address of the Living Lab. So I'm going to focus today on WMG's Living Lab and Learning Center. So I click View. It directly takes me into that media area. Now, it's not really worth zooming further in because the soil map is fairly coarse. And so I just usually kind of define that larger area because I'm also kind of interested in like what else is around me and how may that be influencing my site. So once you've clicked and selected, so I just use the area of interest defined by rectangle. I made the extent of my rectangle. That defines my area of interest. So from this, then the next tab becomes available where you can click on using the soil map. And note, within that area of interest, it actually partitions it out to two different soil types within my area of interest. So note this little orange dot where my cursor is WMG's Living Lab. And note that we have one soil type to the east and one soil type to the west. So number 11 is the cave soil series, and then number 47 indicates the Mojave soils. So this starts to cue you in that you may or may not find just cave or just Mojave or maybe a blend of both as you move across your site. So to learn more information, simply just click on cave soils and it will pop up additional information. Now, typically as a water harvesting practitioner, what I'm most interested in is looking at more of what is the typical soil profile. So what I'm looking at is that the top few inches are gravelly fine sandy loam. That's great for infiltration. However, then we find there may be the potential for a cemented material. So this is going to be problematic, where problematic for digging, it's going to take some effort, to problematic for infiltrating collected water and move it through that soil profile. But once we get through that soil profile, if we can break through that, we have actually pretty good, well-drained soils. So the next thing I look at is, okay, that cemented material is probably driving my ability to look at capacity of the most limiting layer to transmit water. So that most limiting layer is that cemented material. So it's showing it's very low. It's basically, it's not going to pass water. And so this also relates and correlates to the hydrologic soil group D. D is fairly not good for water harvesting. So we're like, oh, do we give up? What do we do? Well, if we go back to that soil profile, we also note that once we get through the first couple of feet, we're to good soil. So this informs my practice of when I'm planning and putting in, is I may need to punch through that cemented material. And once I do, then I'm back to pretty good conditions. However, we may or may not, as I noted earlier, find the cave soils. We may find even maybe some Mojave soils on our site because that's fairly close by. So let me look at what Mojave soils are telling me. So, that's pretty good, loam to sandy loam. However, then we find 6 to 40 inches down, instead of a cemented layer, we find a sandy clay loam. So that clay could potentially be problematic in that it can slow down the ability to transmit water. Depends how coarse it is or not, and if it's compacted. So then we look at capacity of the most limiting layer. So it's fairly high, 0.2 to 0.6 inches per hour, nothing crazy. And so we have a hydrologic soil group of C. So it's okay for being drained, but not great. So this also tells me that once we make it through that, however, this is a much greater depth of 40 inches. So we may have to deal with maybe some soil amendments or not, but actually clay in the soil can be great for water harvesting moisture retention capacity. So that may be okay. So this is how you can find more information about the soils at your site, and then do some exploratory digging. Make sure you call 811 first to then look at more in depth what are the actual soils on your site. And just to kind of cue you in of, okay, this is what this map is telling me. What I have found at WMG's Living Lab is that the southern portion is definitely cave soils with kind of a spotty presence of cemented materials. Some areas have caliche, other areas do not. To the northern portion of our property actually blends and acts more like a Mojave soils, where I have a lot more clay. I don't have the cemented material. So just within this small half acre from one side to the other side, I'm seeing a transition from cave soils to Mojave soils. So hopefully this is helpful for you. The other thing I didn't mention is that if you're interested in soil texture, that profile gives you a key to soil texture, but also note that soil texture changes and can change dramatically as you move down in that soil profile depth. So something else for you to check out at your own site and see what you find. Texture at the top, texture lower down, and do a comparison. Happy soil investigations.